Hi, I'm Harvey Lewis, and
I'm Kelly Odell.
And we're here with Living Ultra. Today we're going to talk about our second episode of the Barkley Marathons and my post-race report, reflection, insights. So, what did you think about everything you heard from being afar?
Well, you know what? I've never been to Barkley Marathons. So you've ran it for 2 years. It's not happened during a time of the year that I can get away from school. So I always have to hear everything through whoever your crew is, or social media, or somebody else's, race updates. But yeah, it's neat. It's fun. Although you don't ever really know what's going on until somebody either comes in off a loop or they don't come in. So it's one of those races that you can follow along and you can try to track a runner, but it's really, really difficult to actually know what is going on during the race.
Yeah, there's like gaps of time where we're out in the woods.
Yeah.
From maybe 8 hours to like 12 or more hours.
Yeah.
And we only have one crew member at Barkley. So I have my buddy Judd Poindexter, who's been like a key crew member for me, like in Biggs and in Badwater and other places.
So we're going to talk today in our Barkley Marathons first video. We talked about like your training and like leading up to it and what Barkley was about. So today we're going to jump right into your experience at Barkley and like your post-race type of reflection.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we have a list of questions that are pretty common that you have received and some things that you wanted to talk about, right? All right, so what was your experience in 2023 and how did it differ from 2022?
Well, like 2023, it was great in a sense that I was able to lead myself and two others on the first loop to the points, and we got to all the books pretty much spot on for the most part. And last year I was dependent on amazing world champion of Rogaine, which is like a navigational race, Greg Hamilton. And so I followed him last year. We did an 8:07 first or 8:37 first loop.
So you felt much more confident in your navigation this year.
Yeah, I felt much better about the navigation, and it was really quite exciting to also have that level of skill where I felt confident to hit the points.
Yeah.
And then
that was a big difference.
It was a big difference. The nighttime I made a couple errors, but we were able to still self-correct with the map. But ultimately, I got knocked out with missing the loop 2 by 10 minutes. So that was kind of my fault of not bringing enough calories. I went through all my food by for sure 60% of the way through loop 2. And so you could, your body just slows down if you don't have enough calories. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing. And then also I made a mistake of carrying way too much gear. Mm-hmm. So the previous year I was Courtney and I were just in the coldest rain. It was 33 degrees. And ultimately that did cause us to head back to camp after making it a little over halfway through loop 2. And I didn't want that to happen again this year. So it was cold at night. In fact, up on the mountains, it was probably closer to 10 degrees potentially, or it felt like that with the wind. And so I purposely carried more gear,
right.
But ultimately I probably overpacked about 6 or 8 pounds, 6-7 pounds.
And you mentioned that in our first video that you wish you would have practiced more with your gear, right?
Yeah,
and the weight
for me adapting to it. There were some things that I had changed up in the last couple weeks before the race, and it would have helped to have my gear dialed down probably 2 or 3 months ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What was scary about Barkley?
Yeah, so it might sound kind of silly to say something scary about the race, but no, I'd say it is, you don't want to get yourself lost. That's not necessarily, it is it's just
Because there's no trail.
there's no trail,
It's
so
not
like
marked.
you don't want to get like lost.
And
like,
you don't have aid station volunteers out there, right?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily scary, but it's like it's just like a concern.
It's a concern.
And then definitely I would say like it could be like the elements, they could be scary. Like I mean, if it was like a thunderstorm or like windstorm or like the crazy rain we had the year before, like those sort of things you don't necessarily have like that great a control over, and it's help is not coming. So as Laz puts it, also I'd say like just the steepness of like the mountains going up and down, like especially at night, you're trying to move fast, so it could be a little scary, like just, and maybe that caused me to be more conservative. But you don't want to break anything or crash entirely. I mean, you fall like naturally a bunch of times in this race. I think more than a typical race because you're running down fast off trail. But that can be a little exhilarating, maybe is the best word for it.
So there are some aspects of the race that are kind of scary or concerning, but it's also a race that you have found in the last 2 years of doing it that you really enjoy. And what is it about Barkley? And I could probably ask you this about a lot of the ultras that you have done. I mean, Badwater, you keep applying, you go back, every year that you're invited, and people ask you the same thing, like, why do you keep doing this? And because you're putting yourself in really extreme conditions and situations. But now this is your second year going back to Barkley. What is it about Barkley that you like, and what is it about Barkley that keeps pulling you to go back? And will you go back? Will you try to go back a third year?
Well, I mean, first, it's really a remarkable year. We had 3 finishers. So Aurelien Sanchez from France, John Kelly from America, and also Carl from Belgium. Those guys were incredible. And, so you might say like, well, you didn't succeed. You made it 2 loops. Laz told me something like at the end of the race when I came in, he's like, well, Harvey, the first year you made it, 1.5 loops. Second year you almost made 2 loops. All you need is 3 more years and you got the 5. So he loves dangling the carrot out there in front of you. But the Barkley really was, it challenged me mentally more than any other race by a scale of like 5 or 10 times. Like that much difference, like from the next most difficult race, because the race requires you to be so mentally focused. I mean, you have to think about the normal things you're running with, like your pace, your gear, like your nutrition, but then you have to like really hone like the details of like the place where you're running. So you have to remember where the book was located, where to make your turnoffs.
And when you say book, you mean like these are kind of like your checkpoints, right?
Yeah, so they have like this old school system where you basically get a race number each lap and each loop, and you have to like literally pull the page from the book that correlates to your race number, which is really neat. And it's the mental aspect. I mean, even like when I was running in the race this year, I remembered like a pipe in the middle of the forest, and that showed me like where one of the books were. And we were looking in like the dark, and I saw that pipe, and I knew it was 100 meters from there. So it's just really interesting that like little tiny details that you might normally like kind of just zone out on, like here you cannot afford to zone out for a second.
It almost sounds like a survivalist type of an event versus like a running race.
No, it's a running race. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a running race, 100%.
But there is a survival aspect in it.
Well, yeah.
Because
I mean, you gotta get
like,
yourself out. Like it's 100%. You gotta get yourself out. Like,
right.
I mean,
that's where like there is a survival piece of it, because like if I go out and I go do long haul 100 that I love, I know I'm always 2.5 miles away from somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel very safe out there. Whereas at Barkley, there is no aid out there.
No, there's no like beacon on you or electronics, of course. You only get a compass and a map and like your gear. So you have the ultimate responsibility
all
along with like
falls
the
back on you.
survival of the race, like continuing in the park, is to self-extract and then not do anything like beyond your abilities, like when you have to come back to camp
But
because
how do you know how to get back to camp?
well, Laz is pretty good about choosing like the 40 people he does choose. He chooses people that are maybe shy of the sacrificial lamb, which one person is selected each year to bear the number one, and like Laz refers to him as a sacrificial lamb because he says they have no chance in Hades for finishing. But and somehow it's
So he tends to choose people that will know how to get themselves out of a situation.
I think he really chooses people that are like have shown like their ability in the past to like make good decisions and also to like be able to pull themselves out of there.
Okay, so let's talk about your race a little bit more. So, what aspect of Barkley pushes you the most?
Yeah, so I would say it's a toss up between the navigation aspect and then also like the crazy, monstrous, steep mountains that you're climbing 2,000 feet at a time. So like if I ever get so lucky to get back into the race again, then I would definitely change my training again. Mm-hmm. And I did not do enough like off trail, like steep, like fast hiking and crazy descents, fast descents off trail.
And you probably didn't do a lot of that in the dark, did you?
No, I didn't do enough of that, period. So day or dark.
So what should others know about the race? Or is there anything else that you can add about the race without, because Barkley is also a very secret race, so I know you're being cautious right now on like you can't give away too much stuff about the race.
You got it? Go for it. You start off with.
You can start off this video.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. Let's restart. Boom.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
I got it, honey. Boom. Hi. Living Ultra. Hold on a second. So here we go. Reset.